Hey, what's up, everybody? I just wanted to check in here real quick and talk to you about a couple things. I feel like it's my duty that because I work in a field of marketing and tech, and I know a little bit about how these processes work and some of the things behind the scenes and behind the curtain, I felt like it was my duty to kind of put some information out there for you to kind of digest any way you want, but at least make you aware of the way that certain things are going on in this world and with these different news media situations and where you're getting your info from and what you should be doing with it. So there's a couple items here that I want to hit, and there's probably 3 or 4 items, and then I'm going to wrap it up. If you stick around to the end, I think it pulls it together nicely. I spent some time doing some research on this and trying to really formulate this to give you the best information. And this is probably going to last about 11 or 12 minutes. So cut out now or stick in it, but I think it's going to be worth your listen. So first thing I want to talk to you about is free speech. I've been seeing a lot of this stuff online lately about free speech and Twitter deciding to fact check people like the president and all that stuff, and Facebook doing these things. And these platforms, like the social media platforms, aren't free speech. They operate under the guise of free speech, but they're not free speech. And that's a problem if you're uneducated. Think about it. The companies are privately held, in some cases publicly traded, and they're run by a board and some private investors and shareholders. Those investors and shareholders have agendas and political beliefs and affiliations that drive those agendas, right? So the purpose of Facebook and Twitter from day one was always about profit, not about free speech. So in all these cases, all access and content are entirely controlled by a private entity, basically the company. So here's what they do. They prey on your emotions. So I'm going to ask you that we're going to take feeling good versus sensationalism and polarization. And I want you to tell me, when's the last time you got hyped when you saw a puppy? But you probably got hype over one of these, whatever way you're on. Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, right? Depending on how you feel about it, that stuff, the attractiveness to divisiveness that we have, that's programmed in our brain, is that sensationalism and polarization. And you're more likely to engage with people on a social media site when the negative comes out of you versus when somebody posts a picture of their kid or a puppy. Here's why that's important. Places like Facebook show you content, and then you react to that content via likes, shares, or actually just staying on that feed long enough to be able to read the comments. They can actually tell how long you're looking at a specific post and engaging with people that are inside and commenting on that post. So they then show you that content again and again, and they show that content to more people who they think might like that content based off of your profile. So if you're friends with 1,000 people and you like something, Facebook's algorithm automatically will say, well, if Gene likes it, that must mean that these other 55 people that he's friends with may like it as well, so let's serve that up. So if you're propagating false information and you're reacting to false information, that false information then gets shown to more people, right? So then what happens is, as that gets propagated more out and you get more angry and you post and share and like more often, you're spending more time on their site. That allows these companies to charge more money to their advertisers to show you the content they already know you like or hate. So the New Yorker said this the best, I think. Facebook has never been a neutral platform. It's a company whose business model depends on monitoring its users, modifying and manipulating their behavior, and selling their attention to the highest bidder. So that's what's actually going on, right? Facebook's bottom line is to make money. They do that by being able to sell their advertisers the idea that you're going to see and react to their content. And then they can prove it based off of how long you're there and what you're doing. Okay, so now I feel pretty comfortable that if you're watching this to this point, you're not ready for this, but I just want to put this out there as well. There's something out there on the internet called Deepfakes. So what a deepfake is something that's a software program that's used to create realistic looking photos and videos of people saying and doing things that they didn't actually say or do. So it puts a question in your mind now that you know it's there. There was a State Farm commercial that was recently run during an ESPN show that had a deep fake in it. And if you've probably seen the comedian Bill Hader on multiple shows. I feel like Jimmy Fallon was one of them. I might be wrong there. but he was on multiple shows where he does impressions of Schwarzenegger, Tom Cruise, Al Pacino, and while he's doing the impressions, he morphs into those people. And if you go back and watch that, if you do a search on that stuff, you'll see how easy it is to fool people. I had somebody over here at the house and they watched it and they went, "Oh my God, he looks like him, Al Pacino." And I was like, that's because they switched it while you weren't paying attention. And it's seamless and smooth, so you can't tell. So to give you some more insight on that, Apple just released their new iOS 13, and there's an update to FaceTime where they're experimenting with altering your eyeballs so that it looks like you're looking at your camera when you're FaceTiming somebody as opposed to looking at your phone. You know, when you watch it, you watch the people there and it's sort of you're not looking at the camera so they can kind of tell. Well, now the algorithm allows them to shift your eyeballs up through virtual reality so that it looks like you're looking at people. So imagine the havoc that leaving these deepfakes and artificial intelligence and virtual reality, leaving them unchecked on these platforms, going to wreak. Did he really say that? Is that his belief? Is that his wife? Is this his daughter? Like, they're going to be able to fake basically whatever they want. How many lives, marriages, and careers do you think are going to be ruined by that? So now let's take this home a little bit. Unfortunately, the only solution's with us. How many of you have read the legal agreements to these platforms before you signed up? That's where they give you all of your rights. That's where you give up, I should say. Let me rephrase that. That's where you give up all of your rights and content. And nobody reads that stuff. So when you sign on to Facebook or Twitter, you read those rules of engagement, those terms and conditions. You say, okay, that gives them the ability to take everything that they want and use it for themselves. Some people actually believe that redoing that agreement is the only way to protect us in the future. Do you trust Facebook to be able to put that stuff legally in there? Do you trust the government to do it? And even if they tell you they do it, are you going to read it then? Most likely not. And listen, I'm one of those guys. I can't tell you that I read those things. I just allow it. And I know that I'm sacrificing privacy for convenience. And I'm okay with that in my world, right? So I recently saw some disputes and opinions on Facebook about Trump signing an executive order on Section 230 of the Decency Act. If you don't know what that is, check into that a little bit. But did you know that the Decency Act was put into place in 1996 to protect children, your kids, my kids, from pornography? Did you also know that it protects companies like Facebook and Twitter from having any legal culpability regarding anyone posting anything on their site? Believe it or not, the original purpose of the legislation was to limit free speech on the internet, not the opposite. So people thought he was taking away free speech. It's actually not what was happening. What that act says is that if I post something on Facebook that gets you in trouble, Facebook is not held liable for that. It's just their platform. All they do is publish that, right? He was trying to reverse, and don't take this as me agreeing or not agreeing because I don't know enough about it, but I can tell you that he was trying to take that right away so that Facebook and Twitter would be liable for information and they'd have to fact check and spend more money on legal fees and thereby cause trouble. So you have to make a choice. You want your government overseeing your Facebook posts or Facebook themselves? And this goes across any platform that you use. My opinion, it's a no-win situation either way, unless you have the knowledge of what happens when either one occurs. So think, because of the information you're willingly given access to, because of the information you're willingly giving these sites, like your birthdays, where you work, where your kids go to dance, pictures from 10 years ago, how much money you make, what ads you're clicking on, they have more data points on you than you do on yourself, right? In 2017, data mining, or having the data, was the most profitable business in the world. It surpassed oil. So in 2016, in the 2016 Cambridge Analytica scandal, where our election process was manipulated by advertisements and data warfare, it was said that Cambridge Analytica had over 5,000 data points on each user just from the information that extracted from Facebook. I challenge you to tell me 5,000 things about yourself. You can't. They can, and they monetize that. So, Rob Toes, a contributor for Forbes magazine, said, "An informed citizenry is a crucial defense against widespread misinformation." Let me say that again. I'm going to try to say it again. An informed citizenry is a crucial defense against widespread misinformation. In closing, here's the message. This is important moving forward, everything I just told you, but it's extremely important now with the looming election. Think about all the outside influences in your life that would love to see the democracy inside our country dissolved. That's becoming easier and easier for people that have stacks of cash and bad motives. We're fighting with our cousins, our brothers, wives, and lifelong friends because of information we deem credible on the internet in a lot of cases with really no vetting. We've been complicit in allowing others to use our rage and information against us for profit and political gain, and changing that is in your hands. So here's my advice. Do your research. Have 2, 3, 4, even 5 different resources to check your sources. Know who runs, owns, and controls these sources and what their agendas are. Talk to your friends with differing views, knowing that no political ideologies could ever be the same. For example, the top 10 list of important things to me and the things that will sway my vote will never ever line up 10 for 10 with your list, your top important lists. And that's okay. I can respect that. You actually should too. So real quick before I wrap that up, I would like to give you 2 resources that I found to be extremely entertaining and somewhat credible. Do your research on these as well, but check into it. But if any of this interests you, I highly suggest you check out Citizen 4. It's a documentary on the Edward Snowden thing that went on, and it's actually done in real time with him, which is crazy, as they were releasing the story. It was on HBO. I think it might be on Netflix now. And then if that'll do a decent job of explaining to you how much data that's collected on us. And then the second one that you should look at in this order is The Great Hack. And I mentioned some things about Cambridge Analytica and data being pulled from Facebook and how they used it in the advertising to shift the election. That'll give you a great idea as to how they are able to manipulate us based off of the information we give them. So, like I said, I hope that this was something where this will open your eyes as to how these machines work and what you're doing to feed the machines, and maybe that'll make you second guess how you respond to your friends and what kind of content you're consuming. So if you have any questions about it, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about it, how we can fix it, and I hope it was worth your couple minutes. Thanks.